Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Bunker Podcast. Back again, as we do. I will preface by saying that I've got a cold, but we're not letting it stop us, we're still out here today. And I'm joined today by the very exciting up-and-coming MC, Leicester City's own. It is Dulzo, the Great.
It's your boy.
It's your boy.
Dulzo, what you telling me? Yeah, man, they've got a cold, I've got a hot, so we're balancing out the universe.
We need to happen, man. We've been discussing this for a little minute. Finally got you down. Excited to have you here, bro.
Yeah, this is good vibes, really good vibes.
Good man. Yeah, glad to have you in. Like I said, this is exciting. Okay, so I'll start here. Usually, I kind of go into it with more your backstory, that kind of thing, and we will get to that. But I want to ask you first of all, actually, about your productivity, your work rate. Actually, you're only 22 years old, and you have
23 now.
23 now.
Yeah, since No, it's not your fault. I don't really do the whole birthday thing like my dad's.
We're fully grown men. We don't really need to at this point, do we? Celebrating another man's birthday. It's like what?
That's a very valid point.
Yeah, man. But how's 23 feeling? 23 feeling any different to 22?
Definitely.
In what way?
Well, sober, there's one. Two, it just feels really good, I guess I can really see my growth, because I never would have imagined, I might not be the biggest person in the music industry or whatever, but for me to be where I am, considering where I started 5 years ago, I have definitely seen a positive growth. I'm in Chesterfield today, you know what I'm saying? It's
on the border, bro.
Yeah, man, it feels great, because I can see how much wealth of information and products and just a whole lot of deals that I've been through that have made me a more well-rounded individual. So that's what I'm really proud of.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to look back and see that development for yourself.
Yeah,
for sure. But 23 now. You're still a very young guy, still up and coming. Like I said, you have released a lot of music in the northern UK scene. I struggle to think of another artist with that kind of work rate and a back catalogue as extensive at yours at this point at such a young age. So my question, I guess, is: have you always had that productive mentality or work rate before you started taking music seriously? And if so, how did that serve you? First of all, coming up in the streets, and then secondly, when you came into the music industry and started making that transition?
That's a lot of volume.
Give me something to work with. That is because I'm shut up for 5 minutes.
Okay, that's great vibes. Well, one, I'd say I didn't always obviously have the work rate. I started taking music seriously when I was 17, 18, really seriously. It was the month before my 18th birthday that I came up. We started a duo with me and my broski Mike. Yeah. We started a duo, and that was called DNM, and I remember we got the name February 2018. So that's when I started taking it seriously, and even them times it was actually more of a trio, because we had a friend, Big M, on production. So sure. And he used to hop on stage with us and the whole lot. So from there, it was just really encouraging to be with two brothers that were very passionate about the same thing that I was. So I'd say, obviously, we eventually expanded, but certain man wasn't serious. Not these two, but just certain man in the group that we'd formed, because we wanted to basically go Wu-Tang without really learning about Wu-Tang. So it didn't really quite work.
It's a dream of any upstart group, innit? They are the staple,
But obviously,
a tenth of Wu-Tang were pretty successful. That went pretty well,
Obviously not study Wu-Tang. Shout out to the clan, because they're killer bees for real. And eventually I then went solo from there in 2018. And from there I just looked at it like I want to be able to get my name known in as many rooms in this city as I can, because I just looked at it because I was doing a personal self-development course. Shout out to VJ and Eva FM and Collab 2 for their works, because the course really helped me out. Like, it helped me just learn about not only myself but just life. And because at that time I was just doing little things, like, you know how the streets go, like just doing little things, just trying to get money and all of that stuff. So VJ really helped my mentality, because obviously he's an older man that done the whole street thing and obviously learnt the lessons. He's like 30-40 years old, like he learnt the lessons, so he was transcending them down to me. And on that program, because I was willing to observe, obviously I was very like a sponge. That's why I like SpongeBob a lot, like very willing to take in, you know what I'm saying, take in as much intel as I can. And what's the word, so on the street aspect of it, obviously, because I was taking this music thing seriously, whatever beefs I was getting into or I was already into, or whatever postcode stuff was going on, there were certain brothers that would tell me, bro, we don't want you warring, because I was a very violent kid. Like, only the other day I actually realized what made me so violent, like growing up. And it was basically, back in Zimbabwe, I have an Arabic name. My real name is Abdullah. So people never used to be able to understand that since I was born. Obviously, because there's always the lack of education. So lack of education equals lack of tolerance, and that can then end up with little kids bullying Abdullah because all they've ever heard was John or Tatenda. You know what I'm saying?
Negative spiral.
But just because of lack of education, you gotta keep in mind. Like, I started, I think, like nursery or whatever. Like you know what I mean? Like 4 or 5 years old, whatever. So boom, now that anger was growing every time somebody was poking and prodding at my name, and eventually the bear came out and ended up biting this kid. And obviously from there,
literally biting.
Yeah, obviously, like, I got vexed, so I charged for him. And this, I think I think genuinely, because I watched a lot of TV, I am very convinced I Mike Tyson this kid, like, because I used to watch a lot of TV. Yep. I used to watch a lot of TV in it, so whatever I learned, monkey see, monkey do it.
It's like that sponge idea again, like, probably not like in your nature to do that, but when you're a kid, you're very impressionable.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna
do whatever it takes to defend you.
Because you don't really have that, like, when you're an adult, you get that kind of compose yourself, deal with this. But when you're a kid, it's raw. Like, kids feel, emotions like, rage, anger, jealousy, sadness, whatever it might be, on a very visceral level, and they don't understand it.
So. Zero inhibitions. That's why adults, that's genuinely it's not even a belief. I've been studying hormones. That's genuinely why adults, like, drink alcohol or do drugs or whatever, is to escape back into that childlike mentality for a moment. Because when the older we get, society, for us to survive in a society, we have to have inhibitions. Children can get away with whatever because they're still soft, they're still innocent, they don't have completely, they don't have like a punch. You know what I'm saying? If a kid came and punched you right now, it's a joke. If a grown Mike Tyson looking in his prime guy came and punched either of us right now, we're crying about it, and then we're gonna have to do something about it.
So, like, our egos are fragile at this point in our life.
And we're going to have to do something about it, and a lot of adults don't have that discipline to say, it's like the Jesus discipline, to get slapped on one cheek and turn to the other cheek. That's why I'm a big Jesus head, like, because of that discipline right there. Like, it's just that, like, everything in my life, I look at it like, coming from being a kid that was willing to bite another kid's ear in my own country, to then obviously, it's just little things like that just show me discipline. Like, I used to just watch, like, a lot of karate movies, and obviously when then it came to us having to carry buckets of water, where other kids were complaining, of course I wasn't, because I saw Jackie Chan do it, and Jackie Chan could whip I don't know, can I swear here? Like, what's
it's fine.
Yeah, Jackie Chan could whip your fucking ass. So, like, I feel so much more free.
We're not big enough to get, like, demonetized or anything like that.
It's fucking lit. It's fucking lit. Oh yeah, okay, because I don't like to cheapen my brand. Yeah, me. Okay. As long as the respect is mutual, that's what I love. So what's the word? Yeah, we used to have to, basically, I came up with this game every time my cousins came in it, because obviously we used to have to run with fucking buckets of water and that. So I always used to say, like, yo, first one home wins. You get me? And that naturally would then transcend to us getting stronger. So obviously now, I've came to England and the same thing's happening. Oh, Abdullah, I'm like, yo, my name is Abdullah. Yeah, Abdullah. Yo, I don't play like this. People take the mick out of my name. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now I'm getting wound up, but at the same time, because I'm a new African kid, all they're pretty much now, I'm guessing, was hearing was blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm thinking I'm speaking perfect English. Them 9 times out of 10 I hear it because of that language barrier. Yeah, what, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then boom, now I've gotten angry enough to give them one of them punches that I've been built without realizing all this time I've been getting calloused. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm
pressing that shit. You can't.
Boom, I'm climbing trees near enough every day, so physical strength, I'm building it up. I'm running with buckets of fucking water. Like, keep in mind, this is at the ages of like 3 to 7.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So imagine by the time that I'm in England, I'm 7 years old. How strong do you think I was as a child? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Compared to like most kids here who like, you know, say like, I don't know, God forbid this never happens, but say like Britain or like some Western country went to war with like Zimbabwe at some point.
God forbid.
God forbid that ever happens. That never happens, but just hypothetically.
Yeah.
Like, do you think a bunch of kids who've grown up playing PlayStation and watching anime,
it wouldn't be fair.
The chance against
it would not be fair.
You know what I mean, having to survive.
And that's why I also am a big believer in God, because of what you said right there. God forbid it ever happens. Through my studies, obviously, I really like studying history, and that's where I look at it. Like, the beauty of God, whether you want to believe in God as an entity or a spirit or a source of energy or whatever it be, I think you're all completely right. Just for the simple fact of, just for the simple fact of every time man says God forbid, you know what I mean, it's one, like, a child that doesn't have supervision will murder the world, but a child that has supervision takes care of the world a little bit better. They pick up litter. You know what I'm saying? Because, yo, mommy and daddy are watching. And that's where I look at it. Like, God is very much needed for adults. Why? Because then we can survive better as mutual beings. It doesn't matter in my eyes whether you believe in God as Jesus, God as Allah, God as whatever it be. Obviously, personally, I believe in God as Allah. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to sit here and argue with somebody that, oh, no, you said it's Jesus. Who am I to, you know what I'm saying? I've not died and gotten to meet my creators yet, or my creator. So therefore, I shan't argue. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm definitely a big believer in God as well. Just because looking at it as like this simply, what you said, right? What was the key point that you said was that imagine, God forbid, but imagine that African what's the word, struggled, people that have struggled in Africa went to war with people that had been blessed in England. No, it would never be fair. But where you really gotta see it is somebody that struggled, like, even for myself, I ain't got no malice for nobody, you know what I'm saying? Don't make it, I hope, like, I'm not making this too personal, but like, I'm just really seeing it as like, I ain't got no malice against nobody in England. Like, even to an extent, I can't really dive too deep into the actually, no, the politics are over now, but what's the word? For me to be in this country, it meant that a bunch of black, Indian, Chinese, white people in London sat down, they read my family's history, they read our characters, they read what we represent as people, and said, you know what? Those are people that we can survive and live with in our country, in our home. The most key important word, in our home. Because never forget, manners come from the yard. And that's where I'm also really seeing the beauty of England. Like, as much as man has lived here and been in not the nicest of environments, like, you get me, like, my town as a whole was like was a big knife crime center. The people that I grew up with, the higher majority are either dead or in prison, and it's just that, like, I acknowledge my environment.
I think, like, it's like anywhere in the world, like, there's I think there's problems with like any nation around the world. You know, like there's problems, but there's also.
But you get Switzerland.
There's also that.
But you get Switzerland. Switzerland ain't been involved in a war in like 100 odd years. There might be problems with it's not everywhere. You know what I'm saying? My whole point is it's one of my bars when I was 16. I was a product of my environment, and they wonder why the violence. Surrounded by judgment, I must be crazy or deranged to think anything will ever change. But I got a hope for change, maybe a turn in a page in this book called life. And that's where you
were 16 when you wrote that?
Yeah.
Most like adults probably couldn't come up with something that, you know, insightful, you know? Like, I mean, obviously a lot of like, I think most adult people like aren't switched on or engaged enough to like, you know, come with something that insightful, especially for someone so like young as yourself, you know?
I just look at it all like God has a plan, God is working, God loves nature at the end of the day, and that's the key point I was trying to kind of come to surface with. God has a plan, God loves nature, nature loves God, and nature loves us. And that's where I look at it like, even if people were raised in a much softer environment, they naturally learn more mental skill. That's where it's always with, I don't know if it's because I believe in God so I see things differently, but that's why I always see everything fair, if that makes sense. Like the whole idea of, I guess if I'm gonna go Kanye about it, the whole idea of Kanye saying slavery was a choice. Obviously I'm not saying it was a choice because it's not a choice everybody made, but it was a choice that some would have made, if that makes sense. Because in the essence of it's business.
Interesting point.
It's business.
Did you see the we're getting on like a tangent here, but this is an interesting talking point. Did you see the trailer for The Woman King about the female African tribe? And it's like a big Hollywood movie universe.
I know of the female African tribe because they're also Muslim people. Basically
Tanzania, right? Like West.
I'm not sure where. I know it's in West, but I'm not sure which country. Basically, I like that tribe. I don't know if it's is it the same tribe as Woman King? Because I'm still to watch the movie.
I've not seen it personally.
But no, I highly respect.
Reading all about it. Like, it does look like a great movie for like in terms of like presenting.
Oh, I'm actually glad that you brought that up. I'm actually glad you brought it up because that's actually inspired me to really look at things from a different light. Because that's the beauty of nature in my eyes. Women get choice. Never forget, because I'm a big believer that patterns don't change the outer, and it's always a woman's choice.
What do you mean to like fight in a tribe? What do you mean like?
Okay.
Generally in life, like
I feel like generally in nature, it's always a woman's choice. Like let's say for example, everything is mating. Every animal mates. Naturally, it's actually always a woman's choice. Why? Because she has the womb. Like what we were just saying about America.
Also, like a woman has to physically carry the baby.
She has the womb.
So she faces the greatest consequences for
everything.
Yeah.
Because she has the womb.
With someone.
Yeah, she has the womb.
She's got to be selective in that.
Yes, that's my.
Into her temple. Yeah.
And if you look at Africa, we ain't extinct. So whose choice would there have been? That's what you're actually really making me question right now.
It makes you think, doesn't it? But
because we are not extinct. So Kanye West, that's what I'm actually questioning. Whose choice would have slavery been if what he's saying is true? Because from my perspective, I looked at it, I just look at things as business, you feel me? And in business, it's that simple. It's the whole concept of prisons. As much as I will still preach free my bros, I'm not entirely against the prison system because I understand discipline. When I was undisciplined, my guys used to say it to me themselves, bro, we're surprised you're not dead or in prison. You know what I'm saying? With the mouth that you've got, bro, how the fuck are you not dead or in prison? And I used to wonder the exact same thing until I started.
Until you learn to discipline.
No, until I started believing in God.
That brings me on to like the next thing actually. Like, okay, so you were talking about like you had like kind of a violent past, that kind of thing. How crucial was you finding religion and things like that? How crucial was that in you, I don't know, learning to tame your inner demons, I suppose?
Yeah, perfectly stated. Drastically crucial, bro. Drastically crucial. Like, I can't even. It has me speechless. Like it's like I don't know how to put it simply. Drastically crucial because that idea of everybody needs supervision, and with the belief in God, you always have a great almighty supervisor that controls your. Well, I'm a big believer in karma as God's punishment. That's why I like to look at it as there's the source that we call God, and then there's karma that either punishes us or rewards us, and everything else kind of lives in the karma. And that's kind of what I think Hindus believe about the whole karmic cycle. Because I really, really highly respect the Hindus and their beliefs, and the Buddhists and their beliefs as well. Like obviously for myself, I was born in, my dad's Muslim, my mother's Christian, and it's all love. Obviously there were wars along the way, as naturally happens in life. We live in a vacuum. The chaos has to go somewhere. But
that's they didn't allow that to get.
But after
you were the product of it.
But after all wars, peace is born. So
in an ideal world, you're right. But what were we talking about? Oh yeah, the film. Yeah, this gets me back onto this just quickly before I forget. The movie with the African tribe. Obviously, it looks like it's. I see what they're doing. It's a positive message, but they've kind of warped history, right? So this tribe, that the real tribe who this film's based off, right? They actually sold a lot of their own people into slavery, and like their society at the time and the riches that slavery produced, they were benefiting off that at the time. In fact, when like the British tried to stop the Great Atlantic slave trade, like ship passages, this tribe were like burning down British ships, attacking them. Like they were trying to keep it going because the entire society propped up.
I like what you're saying there because it actually kind of
warping of history, right? I
don't know if warping is necessarily the right word, but I like the mentality because I was studying what was it? Oh yeah, I was looked into banking, and I really have to respect the Knights Templar as an ideal because the same thing happened in the Knights Templar. You get the blessed people that come up with an idea that, let's guide these people with safe passage. And then in them, you get the tyrants that say, if we get this person by the sword, all their money's ours. Let's grab it. And because we're Knights Templar, nobody can tell us nothing. We've got enough status to get away with it. And the same thing happens. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Chinese, Indian. Heck, there might even be purple people out there that are hiding from us because we do that.
Aliens.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? Like,
big tall avatar looking for the.
Who knows? Yeah. Some people might not. God knows if everything or anything will ever be classified or declassified or whatever the statement is that these people are using nowadays. But the way I look at it simply is just that. My whole perspective on that is that's why people actually, and this might sound a bit Matrix handlerish, but people need to learn to mind their own business. Because it's just the simple fact of we can go he said, she said all day about this civilization of women that were trading men, women, whatever it was. But the real factor is they were minding their business. They knew what they were doing it for under their creator. That's the whole thing I look at life as. It's kind of like the whole idea of Jay-Z, for example. People say, Jay-Z's the Illuminati, he's this, right? But you never see Jay-Z getting into their business. So why are they getting into his? And the big thing that really makes me laugh is they'll get into his business and get nothing out of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? The same with Kanye West. But the difference with Kanye West is he got into the Jews business, and realistically speaking, Kanye stays rising. I don't know what he is, what he's doing, what he's trying to do, but I like Kanye because Kanye, he knows what he's doing to some extent. But
the thing with that is though, I think a lot of what Kanye says is very wise, but then I think on the other side of the spectrum, when he says stuff like that, it's I see him as a person who's he's obviously got mental health issues and stuff, and he's I can't take things like that seriously, almost, you know what I mean? But I don't know, maybe that's something wrong with my perception of it.
I just look at it simply I don't know. I just look at it simply as the divine Lord loves all and knows would never give one more than they can handle. That's the bottom line of it. Like, you shouldn't put it on your perspective or anybody's perspective or even on Kanye's mental health. So I just look at it simply as God will never give somebody more than they can handle. So enjoy your perspective as he enjoys his. That's why my whole key point is That's why the whole key point I'm saying is people just need to really learn to mind their business, because you don't know that person's perspective. You don't know the experience for them to have that perspective. You don't know the experience these women had with the men that they're sending off to be slaves. Because even the same thing used to happen in places like Egypt and even in places in Europe, especially with virgin girls. They used to send them off into slavery because they were very valuable to the men on the other side.
We know better than that.
But the key thing is, the key thing that people wouldn't then look at was, what was this girl's family history for this girl to then be a virgin but being put into slavery? Was that family karmically good? That's where I always look at things before I judge anybody, because I'm a big believer only God can judge. But I also am still human living here, so I have to judge people. And that's why I look at it like, yo, before I actually say anything against this person, do I know their family and do I know their family's karma? No, I don't. So how can I get into their business?
Do you value like that context? Do you know what I mean?
Heavily.
You never take anything at face value.
No, you never can. Like, yo, science has discovered atoms. Since the discovery of the atom bomb, how could anybody take anything to face value? It's ridiculous too. There's nukes.
The idea of imploding atoms, you mean? Like?
No, it's the simple fact of my biggest anxiety when I was 17 was I started to feel, obviously I was on road, innit? So I started to feel like every day I was walking with a nuke over my head, which, because it was the closest reference I could think of to basically, there's brothers that don't like me that got guns, and you know what I mean? There's brothers that don't like, simply put, death. And that's where it really dawns on me today, really. Like, since the discovery of the atom, how can anybody take anything to face value? Right now, me and you as a black and a white brother are literally able to communicate with each other because we're protected by the atom bomb. If anybody was against that's why I love Britain, and that's why I love Britain and what it represents, and even why I love the Americans, any person that's representing peace over tyranny. Simply put, any place that represents peace over tyrants or dictators or whatever it be, I love them.
Interesting point. That's such an interesting point, because would you say, like, sorry, finish.
Yeah, the big point I'm making is, since the discovery of the atom bomb, I wouldn't call obviously I don't want to make it about idols and people start worshipping atom bombs and that. No, because people can be that stupid with what I'm about to say. But I would say we created a form of God that was greater than ourselves with the atom bomb. Why? Because before the atom bomb, they had to be what? Either one of us in a plane, a train, or a truck. But with the atom bomb, we can literally sit here, and obviously there's still soldiers. Shout out to all the Marines and the SCI, whatever's, all the military corps. Big ups to them and their service, standard. Because they're protecting us so that we can have these kind of conversations. There's brothers that are dying out there for this freedom. And that to me is something
a luxury that we probably take for granted.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I feel like very, very upset that people take that to granted, bro. Because if you really look at the value of the military corps, without it, heck, even the Islamic pilgrims of traveling around spreading the knowledge, the British and the missionaries and traveling around Africa spreading a good message, because even at that time Africa was self-destructive. There was rituals that were very, very, very chaotic and self-destructive, and that's why I always look at the key point. We live in a vacuum. The chaos has to go somewhere, but so does the peace.
Yeah.
And well,
I like to believe that the peace and the light. This isn't to take anything away from the darkness or the chaos. Yeah. Like, the darkness is very fucking dark, but I kind of have to believe this. I have to believe, or I try to believe, that the light is actually bright. As dark as the dark is, the light is. Yeah, science
has done this experiment. If you put in a little light in a dark room, boom. You've now got a light room. You've not got a dark room no more. But if you put darkness in a light room, it's not the same concept. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, so for darkness to exist, it's a product of
the light itself.
Yeah, because it's a shadow.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's just somewhere where it's not. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You get me? Because for literally darkness to exist, there has to be that shadow. It has to be, what's the word? Matter. Literally, there has to be matter.
Yeah.
Light can just exist. For darkness to truly exist, there has to be matter for there to be that shadow, if that makes sense. So that's why I really look at it, just that.
Yeah, no, it's a more intuitive way than a lot of people look at it. I think most people just view it through like the lens of like, oh, there's this realm and, you know, that's it, get a job and that's all that there is.
And that's a beautiful thing, because the way I look at it...
I kind of envy those people to an extent in the sense of like ignorance is bliss, but then it's also like, I don't know. Like, I kind of feel...
That's why...
With the experiences I've had, I just don't ever think I could also live like that.
That's why I always say it's all about discipline. That's it. It's all about discipline. Like, yo, if you enjoy... Some people genuinely enjoy working in a factory and that's all they want to do. That's all they can do. And that's all their capacity as a person is. Work in a factory. Some people like yourself, you want to venture out, you want to adventure, you want to meet new people, you want to talk to new people, connect. It's nature. Yeah. If every bird was, you know what I mean? If every bird could fly, then not every bird could drop seeds where they need to be.
Yeah, good point. We need the penguin, we need the chicken.
Yeah, literally.
It's all part of the lifestyle. Cause I think I'm getting, this is good, man. I think I'm getting like a good idea for, you know, what you're all about here. I'm going to bring this a little bit more back to earth and back to you though, as fascinating as that was. Okay, so you were telling me about, you know, growing up in Zimbabwe, you had a vastly different experience.
Zimbabwe!
Indeed, a vastly different experience to people coming up here, which I'm sure you gave you a different perspective on the world. Later on down the road, though, like you came here, you're trapping, you're making a name for yourself in the streets. What initially drove you to that lifestyle, if anything, or was it more of just an environment type thing? And yeah, when did music begin to play a factor for you, and how did you find that transition out of the streets into the industry, I guess?
Okay. Well, one, everybody wants to be lit. That's the big thing. That's the first thing I have to say. Nah, okay, that's where it is. Every teenage boy wants girls. Full stop. That's why we trap. Full stop. Every teenage boy wants to be able to give his mama money and support his mom and get her away from the job that he sees that he feels that she's suffering from. Full stop.
For real.
So as a whole, females. Full stop. There's no greater drive for a man than a female. Full stop. Yeah. Obviously, you get your bisexuals, you get your homosexuals. They've got their drivers, and it's typically, if you really look at it, feminated men. Full stop. So technically, you get me. Even shout out to the LGBT community. If I'm speaking out of line, then I apologize. But I look at it. I look at it simply like that. Like, you get a bottom, you get a top, you get a dominant, you get a submissive, and typically the men, we were the dominants. Why? Because we went to war. So therefore, as society and history came along, what was then acknowledged as masculine behavior was dominant behavior, and same vice versa. So therefore, I am not against anybody LGBT for claiming what they claim to be their identity. It's the way society has created it. And what's the word? So therefore, that's my answer. Like, it was always females that were the drive, realistically speaking. And for me, obviously, I came from a very traditional family. Like, I want to be the best dad that I can be. I don't care about money, wealth, whatever it be. I aim to be the best father I could ever be, physically, mentally, spiritually, as a man and as a human being, so that my children can therefore be the best that they can be. Because that's where I look at it. Like, at the end of the day, if I'm not protecting their spirits, then they can fall for anything. Because that's what, in my perspective, happened to me. I give a lot of respect to my father, because I obviously acknowledge the reason why he left. The same mentality. He wanted the best life for us, so he came to England first, surveyed the field, and it was good enough for his children. And that's why I also am a big believer of God, because he's a big believer of God. And it took, if I look at the rest of our neighbors, they're still in Zimbabwe. My dad was the only really dedicated Muslim man I'd ever witnessed around there. He was actually, even more importantly, he was the only he was the only sober one. Don't get me wrong, like everybody.
That's a surprise, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions that, like, you know,
Zimbabwean people are alcoholics.
No, I'm saying more about like Muslim people. They're, you know, very like, you know, alcohol is forbidden.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But it's kind of, I mean, from what you're saying there, it's like it's kind of a misconception. If your dad was the only one in his area or whatever, that
he was the only Muslim too.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he was the only sober one. He was the only Muslim too. So if I'm really looking at it, so in my eyes, that's where I actually just kind of looked at it like, well, there's now coming of age. That's where I looked at it like, if the world is warring and my parents, like, as much as they've had their separations and whatever, they still love each other, then I can't follow either Christianity or Islam. So I started then really studying into Buddhism because it was the closest one to the values that I loved about Christianity and Islam. But it was telling me that you're a God, I'm a God, everybody's a God under God, because there's a God outside of you and there's a God inside of you. And if you see somebody smiling, that's you recognizing the God in each other. If you see somebody frowning, that's because they don't recognize the God in themselves. So that's why they're upset, and they're going to eventually
use that myself. I'm just gonna take that one.
Nah, it's so I love. And they eventually, you know what I mean? Like, you can see it. Like, it's like a nitty, for example. Like, yo, you can see them scratching themselves, biting themselves. If you even say a word to the nitty that will upset it, it's boom. What did you say? Like, yo, crazy stuff. Like, literally the word crazy. And that's where I was like, okay.
It derives from that, like, insecurity. That thing.
And that's where, obviously, me then getting deeper into my studies, I then came from Buddhism. My mom's a Christian, and she was obviously, I was listening to a lot of Islamic, like, Arabic prayers, like, you know what I mean? Like the Allah Akbar, all of that stuff, right?
Great rendition, man. Yeah,
yo,
I love it, man.
Yeah, so love. And I was listening to a lot of that stuff because it just felt good for my mental health, like, and because what happened was 2018 I stopped smoking, and okay, the transition from street life to that's what happened first. Long story short, what happens, you end up in BS postcode wars. And then what happened was, because I was proper dedicated to this music thing, the guy that my brother that I was shotting for, he was even telling me, bro. And like, this is where it really got me, because I looked in it like, yo, I'm working for you. This guy was saying to me, bro, I would much rather you were doing this music thing, proper focusing on this music thing. Like, I'm thinking, what?
So
weird.
Made it hit home for you, type of thing.
Bro, like, every person that I was ever under, like, I was ever a runner for, and anything that I ever did, like, whether it was beef, running food, whatever it was, every person would always turn around to me, bro, I don't even want to do this. I'd rather you did the music thing. Imagine you're beefing somebody and they told you, I don't even want to war you. I'd rather you did this music thing. And they'll always turn around to me and tell you make it for all of us. And that used to mess me up, bro. I'm even hearing orders. I'm hearing orders saying, yo, bro, like, I'm hearing this, that you're doing this. Yo, what are you stupid?
Potential, though, for real. Like,
yeah.
People see something in you that you maybe didn't see.
And even then, where it really hit home was, rest in peace, my guy RB. Rest in peace, Free Spire. Because I hadn't seen him for a while, right? Because he was meant to hit me up for a move around Christmas, but he never did. And obviously, I got vexed at that because I'm thinking, bro, I needed that piece, bro. What the fuck? You get me? So I didn't hit him up for time. But then my guy Mike, the one I was in the duo with, he was getting loud off him. So I was like, yeah, I haven't seen my man for time. I don't hold grudges and that. Fuck it, I'll pull up in it.
Yeah.
And
probably have bigger fish to fry by that point. You do.
Yeah, broski, like this was like October, like, you get me? I was pissed for that long though, I'm not gonna cap. Cause there's money, you get me? Like, yo, this was survival, G. Like, I told my guy, yo, shout me if you ever got moves, and same time I'm trying to fund this music thing. So that's why I hadn't seen him until like October, cause I was like, fuck this fucking bullshit. If all these lot want me to focus on this music thing, fine, I'm gonna fucking focus on this music thing, cause you lot are chopping my money now. You get me? Cause you get me, like, if these people are the ones that are plugging me the moves, I'm basically trapped in the trap. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not true, because for me my whole thing was I'll run it. I'll run the food, but I won't be trapped in a nitty's yard or some shit like that. Because I'm not a retard. How am I? No disrespect to my brothers that have done it and they make their peas and whatever. Because everybody's gotta eat. So it's not actually retarded because you gotta eat. But I mean in the terms of like, because I was just more business savvy. That's all it is. It's not me being better than anybody. I was just more clued up. I looked at it simply like, yo, if this person is paying me this much a week to stay in this house where police could come running in anytime and now I've got to do this stretch and I'm losing all that money, no wonder why he's paying me that little bit. Because how much is he making? Oh, yeah. But even more so, I'm taking all the risk.
Yeah.
I'm the one that has to jump out the window.
At the end of the day, anyone's getting like, if anyone catches up to window, it's going to be you before it's It's like, I don't know, it's just smarter to cut your losses at that point. And
boom, I would much rather, for me, I would much rather have more, no, it was the fact of I looked at it like a mouse, right? If I put a mouse in a cage and then I bring its enemies to charge that cage, the mouse is trapped. But if I take the mouse out of the cage and the mouse is running around eating its cheese and enemies come, the mouse can run. So I looked at it like I'd much rather be on my push bike. I'd much rather be on my push bike dropping food to Donny than yeah, I'm in the trap, bro. I'm making bags a week and that. I'm making bills a week and that. Do your thing. I'ma do mine. You get me?
Like usually people like buying it, it's just chill, isn't it? It's just like you can go.
Yo, you can, bro. I'm telling you, Bear Man were trying to sell me this thing. Like, yo, we got P4 in the tea. We obviously not P4 at the time, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I was P4 actually. Yo, we got P4 in the thing. We got this. We got food. We got gal. I'm just there thinking, yeah, but you're still a bunch of trapped little mice. At least I get to run around and I can invest in all of that shit.
Yeah.
Breezy ways.
It's like it's going about it the right way for sure. Like it's like, even in that regard, back then you had that. You were switched on.
God,
you had that
my parents prayed. That's genuinely how I look at it now. If I genuinely look at the difference between me and the rest of the man that I was rocking with, my parents prayed. My parents would pray because I'm a big believer in prayer. All the way. And because of that, because even actually there was this one night that I was actually riding out on some bullshit beef, yeah, and me and my guy Mike, we decided, that's why I got mad love for him, because through all the shit, like, I look at things like nature, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Nature is typically what gave the first man the spear. He was the one that gave me my first machete, you know what I'm saying? That gave me my first okay, yo, I feel like, no incrimination. No, it's actually not even incriminating, because if nobody's offended, there was no offense. So it's all good. Yeah, so what's the word? Yo, we got equipped, basically. Long story short, we got equipped. He didn't give me nothing. We got equipped, and because of nature. And long story short, we decided that we were gonna go to a church before we pulled up to anything, innit? Because I had one OG tell me, yo, bro, when I was seriously on road, yeah, I used to always go church before a lick. I used to always go church and pray, or get a father to pray for me. Yeah, that's what it was. I always went and got a minister in that to pray for me in the church and that before I did any lick. And well, look at me, innit? I've always been blessed at night. I was like, how can
all of that to like the minister? Like, to be fair, I mean, if it's anything.
No, to God, always to God. And what's the word? Yeah, so that's what we did. We went to the church down the road. Obviously, we tried to get in to get prayed for and that, but we couldn't, so we just went onto the top step of the stairs and that. Yeah. Father out in heaven, yo, if you're really out there, make sure that we bless and nothing harms us, and yo, make sure that if any of these man have got anything that we aren't prepared for, like the whole lot, like yo, if you make sure these lot got anything that we aren't prepared for, that we're able to defend ourselves against it, Lord. We know that you are there. Like, we know that we might be little shit sometimes, and we probably shouldn't be swearing right now, but at least we're being honest, God, and we know that you're an honest God. So thank you for all that you do and all that you do. Let's go. And then we saved each other.
You talk to your God like you talk to like your homeboys, bro. Like, I love that.
So we saved each other, yeah, because we were bouncing off each other. You get me? Like, I'll say something, he would say something, you get me? We was just bouncing off each other, and then we was like, yo, boom, let's go, boom. And then by the time that we got to the field and that, guess what?
Everything went calm.
Nah, not even that, bro. These man, without us knowing, probation, curfew, and that.
All right.
Yeah, and that 15 minute.
You were the one who got away there, right?
Nah, broski, you're not hearing me out. That 15 minute that me and my guy spent praying was the 15-minute gap until their curfew.
Oh, right. So you were like...
So all that time, because we couldn't get into the church, so we spent like a good 15, 30 minutes just surveying. Is there anybody there? You get me?
Yeah,
Boom.
Man. It's crazy. No, that is a crazy ass story. But I mean, it sounds like you prepared for it mentally in whatever way you could do, you know?
Yeah, broski, when I told you we were prepped in it. But all in all, it was all God in it, because even the man that I beef with then, bro, obviously gave it time and blah, blah, blah. We even, just certain little things happened, you know what I'm saying? Like, because we were all from the same ends at the end of the day.
Like
certain little.
All together and shit.
Yeah, man, at the end of the day. So fucking, long story short, obviously after a long period of time, me and my guy was just doing music seriously, and that's where I really know that the road life is, it's as it says in the Bible, that God has basically made two, like an ocean, and separated it like into two tides, and it's your choice which side of the ocean you swim in, the peace or the chaos.
The road less traveled. Yeah.
And that's where I really looked at it. Like every time I started to see it, like every time I was doing this music stuff, I would never see none of these, man. None of them.
Yeah.
Every time I proper focus on this music shit, none of them. Every time I focus on the street shit, whilst trying to do this music thing, certain minds just start creeping into certain situations, certain places, certain things just start happening. I'm thinking, what the fuck? So, long story short, I just eventually looked at it like, and then obviously I've actually discovered that verse. I don't know what verse it was, but I found out that scripture about in the Bible about there being two oceans. It's your choice which one you're swimming. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so that's why this shit keep happening. Literally. So that's why this shit keep happening. So I was like, okay, cool. From now on, I'm only gonna swim in this music thing as much as I can, because when I tell you,
worth your time, bro.
When I tell you,
your energy is like worth more than all of that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, that's what everybody else.
Worth something like
that's what everybody else saw than I did. You get me? Because to me, I was still in that survival mode, self-destructive little African kid that just came to England, and we need to make money. You know what I'm saying?
I don't really blame yourself for that too heavily, though. It's like
I don't blame
broski. Environment.
I don't blame nobody, nothing, never myself. It's always God. And I know they say, oh, you shouldn't blame God, but then
equally, like, okay,
who created the blame?
To the extent that like you don't take accountability for anything you do. Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
So like I don't know, like say someone murdered someone. I don't know. Like
I would still blame God.
You know I would
still I with my experience in life.
You've done that. I'm just saying.
No, I'm telling you, I with my experience in life, and that's why I say karma is God's punishment. People are just choosing not to believe in it because ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Karma is God's punishment. I will still blame God. Because at the end of the day, it was also your creator. It was also your creator's duty to ensure that you were raised and given the right education. So that's why my big belief is God's plan.
Okay, let's talk about music. We were just on a moment ago, you are a product of the roads, but your musical influence I can actually see stretches far beyond that. I want to talk about your 2020 project, the Mandela Effect. First of all, this was the first one I heard of yours, and I was surprised by the way that the tape begins. The first track, Been Down, opens with some simples.
Been down.
Yeah, man, that one. Hey, I'm getting exclusive live and shit today. Okay, that opens with some simple, like sophisticated piano keys. Then you've got like tracks like Crown and See All the World that utilises like acoustic and electric.
Yeah, I was feeling country in that one.
Very effectively, man. Yeah, man. No, you gotta like mix it up. It's sick. Yeah, and then you had tracks like Georgia, Pull Out, 4 or 5 songs into the tape that you sound like an animal.
Devilish.
Yeah, you sound like a demon, bro. Yeah, that's more of a showcase of your like lyrical pedigree, technical ability, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, you keep switching it up as you go through. You're able to switch it up again later on with songs like chilling, pass out. They fall back on like the garage funk influences. You're surprised I listen to all this shit, bro.
This is what's the one. It's you have actually you've thought about these songs a lot more than I did in the process of making them. And two, pass out. Pass out to me is so fucking hilarious.
I love that.
Yeah, we fuck tonight. Yeah, that's why it makes me laugh, because the inspiration of that song was the Sims video game.
I love Sims 4, bro. Yeah, fucking classic, man.
Because they call it woo.
No, mate, that's it. I had no idea that that's where you got that from. That's crazy. But yeah, no, they're more like garage, funk. You're experimenting with different styles. So, finally, to conclude, it's probably a long-winded way of getting to this, but my question is, was it a conscious effort on your part to try and make your music as instrumentally diverse as possible, or have you always just paid attention to lots of different types of music and drawn from lots of different artistic influences, I suppose?
I love music, man. Yeah, I even listen to fucking Gorillaz. I used to listen to Kiss as a little kid. Fuck, bro. I've listened to. I know that's not Elmo, but I fucking listened to Elmo's music, broski. Like, obviously, yeah, I listened to Kiss as a kid. Then dived more in. Came in through Tupac and Biggie, obviously.
Tupac, got Paul Weller here.
I don't know that guy, but obviously NWA, all of that, bro. Like, I love all music. Like, heck, even as a little kid.
And that was something you were keen to get across, like your diversity and like, you taking different cultural influences. You wanted to get that
the Mandela
album,
effect.
right?
The Mandela effect came at a time when I was writing my first. Obviously, I released my first book now, 366 points for 366 days on Amazon. And the reason why I wrote the book was my mentality was really, really in shambles. Like when you talk about battling my inner demons, Jesus Christ! Like I was schizophrenic, depression, anxiety. Obviously schizophrenic, all the delusions, all the hallucinating everything. So I looked at it like, if you're telling me this is the process that it takes to become an artist, one, no wonder why not everybody doesn't make it. But two, I want to be able to write and develop things that make the journey a lot easier for the people that come after me, like anybody that's on this journey. That's why I just looked at it like, if I'm able to figure out ways so that you don't have to go through the same suffering that I did, then that's a job well fucking done.
I love how your angle or approach or mentality on that is like, your first thought is like, it's like other people. It's like what you want it to do for other people in the long term.
Yeah,
right. Because so many people are like self-centered and just like. Because for me, ignorant and shit. Because
for me, okay, little exclusive. Obviously, now I'm really because we're talking about inspirations. Obviously, I'm born on the same day as Justin Bieber, just 6 years later on, innit? So I always looked at it as a kid, because I'm not gonna cap, I got very jealous of him when I was like 9, but you know what I'm saying. But you know what every 9-year-old man was. You know what I'm saying. But obviously, when I found out that he had the same birthday as me, all the jealousy disappeared. All of it. You know what I'm saying. It went from there was this girl that sat next to me called Hannah. Right. She used to have this little keychain. I used to flip it over. She used to put it back and I'd flip it over. Like, yo, I'm not trying to see this guy. But obviously, I didn't understand. But obviously now I'm a lot older. I understand jealousy, envy, all of that. But then when I found out he was born the same day as me being, I guess, the little suave little businessman that I've always been, I'm seeing that now, I looked at it like, well, what are the odds that the girls that like him will like me just because I was born on the same day as him?
Did it work out though?
Oh, yeah!
I'm pleased for you, sir.
Certain ones of my niggas used to call me the king of the white girls, bro. Because obviously, but yo, shout out Justin Bieber for that one. Pluggy. Because it was just the fact that it gave me confidence. It wasn't anything other than the simpler fact of, for me just being me, and for me now knowing I've got the same birthday as this guy. That's also the same reason why I believe in God. It gives you that confidence, that encouragement. Like, if people like Noah believed in God, and Moses believed in God, and Samuel and all these brothers and Paul, they believed in God, and even Muhammad and all their military campaigns, and they survived military campaigns. just off the confidence of believing in God. The American independence thing, in God we trust. Like the British, God, 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 God. Even when they took over my country, my mom was educating me on that. Like, yo, we went from a family that was shaky to a family that's Christian and maneuvering a lot better for ourselves. We was a lot less self-destructive. So that's where I just look at the beauty of God. Like, you can call it whatever you want. You can make whatever.
Even down to the little things like sharing a day with the birthday with Justin Bieber. Even down to that little thing.
Just little things, you know what I mean, that inspire a new generational thinking, you know what I mean? A new way of, a new thing, simply put. And
that's probably like a more like dumbed down version of what you were trying to say. But yeah, I get.
But I'm more on the point. That's what we love. But I'm more on the point, bro. And that's why I just looked at it like, yo, fam, man's born on the same day as this dude, and well, no racism intended, so I hope people don't make it that, but keep in mind, I was 9 years old. I looked at it like, well, if this little white boy can do it, why can't I?
Yeah, he is.
And obviously then, I actually got my first guitar when I was 10, but it was one of them thingy, plastic, like super cheap guitars, so I was very limited on it, so I just eventually ended up scrapping that and just focusing on my sports and my body, naturally.
Yeah.
And especially at that time, like, my insecurities were deep, bro, like, yo, me sing, God no. Me, that obviously when I came to this country, the guys told me, yo, we don't sing, singing's for girls. So I looked at it like, well, if I managed to fit in here, how am I ever gonna? I'm not singing. I love singing. I've always loved singing as a little kid.
Yeah.
So I looked at it like, no, to fit in, absolutely not. That's for girls. You know what I'm saying? I'm a boy. What am I singing for? So
but you like evolved beyond that, right? Like again, like obviously, like the opening track to the Mandela Effect is like, you are using your vocal techniques.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like your appreciation for it's grown. I can see.
I actually have to really agree with that. And what's the word? So from obviously finding out like, oh, got born on the same day as this guy, it was just little things that inspired me, like behind the scenes and that. You know what I mean? Like, just there were days I was doing my little YouTube. Obviously, I knew the man them were gonna find it because you'd have to look up my name and Google me and da. But ain't nobody care. So why would they? How would they find it? You know what I'm saying? So I used to do little singing videos on there. I used to do little dance videos on there. Obviously, I took all of that stuff down now because I was very insecure. I took all of that stuff down a long time ago.
It's still fun to experiment with that stuff when you're
and what's the word? Then I started doing gymnastics and I really loved that. So that's where I looked at it like, if I'm gonna do anything for career, I want it to either be gymnastics. I had 3 career options at that time. Whoa, yeah, because at this time I was 12. And they changed in 2 years.
As a 12-year-old.
No, as a 12-year-old.
I think I still wanted to be Spider-Man or something when I was 12, dude.
As a 12-year-old, I wanted to either be a gymnast or a professional stunt scooter guy. Because obviously that time MGP was sponsoring people and all of that. Like, there was big money in it. And then by the time I was 14, then I looked at it like I either want to be doing something to do with rap or drugs. Full stop. Everything
got all grown up by that point, yeah.
Actually, no, not entirely. Actually, yeah. And if I was asked to do anything legal, because in school they made us do this assessment thing. I was like, if I'm ever to do anything legal, I'd want to do something like be a paramedic. That's admirable. Because my whole thing was, as a little kid, I really loved vampire movies. Yeah. So I looked at it like, and I knew a girl that was very squeamish. So I looked at it like, if there's people like her out there, that means that the likelihood of people going into this job is rare. But I don't mind blood. I've grew up literally wanting to be a vampire. Obviously, I don't want to be a vampire. It's like, ugh. But I just looked at it. By the time I was 14, obviously, I wasn't watching vampire movies and into all that blood stuff and all of that stuff, you know what I mean? So I looked at it like, oh, if I'm comfortable with it and there's people that are uncomfortable with this is the best job I could do for a lot of people, because at least I'm comfortable enough to do it, where a lot of people aren't. But obviously now
selfless way of looking at it, to be fair, like trying to just like, maybe it's not your passion, but you know that you can.
I had no passion, broski. The whole me wanting to be, actually no, but when I was 15, 16, that's when it was either drugs or rap. But 14, I was still I had What was my passion at 14? Yeah, 13. I watched MTV Cribs. I was obsessed with MTV Cribs. My sister loved I love.
Pimp My Ride.
Yeah, no, I was obsessed with MTV Cribs and Pimp My Ride, and my sister loved 16th birthday, whatever, that birthday one. And I kept hearing the same word in all shows. Entrepreneur. So obviously I said to myself when I was 13, if I'm going to be anything above all this bullshit, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a clothing fashion entrepreneur, and I had the idea of reflective clothing. 16 comes now. Fucking, I'm seeing reflections. I'm thinking, who the fuck took my idea? Fuck this. I was generally, that's how much I was so frustrated. I was like, fuck this, I'm done with this fucking shit. It's either this music shit works or I don't give a fuck. I'm going back on road, and I'm going back on road with a storm. I'm going with a fucking vengeance by the time I'm 21. I gave myself a time limit. I said, if I'm not making money in this music shit by the time I'm 21, I'm going back on road with a fucking vengeance. Obviously, I'm making money, so I looked at it
You never needed to do that, exactly.
Yeah, God. That's why I also look at God. It really was with me all the way, because me and my guy,
into existence.
literally, me and my guy made a pact when we was. Yeah, like 15, when we was 15, that, by the time that we're 17, 18, all the people that we rock with and everybody we need in Leicester is gonna know who the fuck we are in this music shit. By the time we was 18, call it law of attraction, I'm watching bare black box videos and that, because obviously, man, you gotta study your craft and that. Yeah. So I'm watching bare black box videos and I get inspired. Kind of illuminated as the shout out to the Catholics. Shout out to the Catholics, because they'll say that I got illuminated, and that's why I really like this music thing, and that's why I brought up Jay-Z earlier on. People need to mind their own business, because they don't know what they're talking about when they call him a devil worshipper and all of that. The Catholics.
And they so lives, don't they? Just like
the Catholics say it best. The Catholics say it best. There is no body for angels, so the angels illuminate us with ideas, and that's why I look at it on the law of attraction one. Boom, I'm watching bare black box videos, and just boom, it dawns on me, yo, bro, why don't you know how to find information, right? Well, duh, like I'm very good at finding information. Why don't you just find the contact for these people and see how you get on the show?
Yeah.
Well, duh. And then boom, I've obviously contacted them. They've told, man, yo, slap us 170, I think it was. 140, between 140 170, slap us that, come to London, we record your thing, you do your thing, boom. And because of obviously the thing that is, because of the brand that is Black Box, every one of the motherfuckers in Leicester now, we did it. They knew us.
Yeah.
We're even walking.
Put your city on the map. Well, like collectively, I mean, right?
Boom, we're even walking around now, because obviously, this is where I see God in it. I was trapping for one Muslim brother, innit? Well, he had a Muslim name anyway. Obviously, I'm not gonna incriminate my guy, but like he had a Muslim name, innit? And what's the word? Like, he was a really good guy, because even he was telling me, bro, like, if you're telling me you're actually doing this music thing, I want to support you with it. I actually want to, I've seen many brothers, like, I've got loads of guys in London and that do this music thing seriously. Even fucking, he was connected up with, like, Naira Marley and that, you get me? Yeah. So, like, Naira Marley, that's an OG, like, from my culture and my music and everything, like, you know what I mean? The Afro swing, Afro beat, like, he pioneered that shit for here, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, heavily, him and Jay Hus and all of that. So for me hearing, yo, I'm connected to Naira Marley and all these, man, I'd much rather you was doing this music thing. Obviously, I know you need your P's and that, so I'll support you, but trust me, bro, I would much rather you doing this music thing. And was waiting for a re-up here, and this was the first song that made me, like, local famous, innit? And I know like, because I saw the difference from me going studio before this song and Black Box to me going studio after this song and Black Box. You get me?
Yeah.
Like, so I know its influence and it's how heavily I inspired a lot of people. That I'm very proud of now looking back, because obviously I've been very suicidal, a lot of things, because I couldn't see it.
Touching on like emotional subjects and stuff, like, yeah.
I just couldn't see why people were telling me all the things that they were telling me, because it was making me very depressed, because why is it everybody else can see this character that I can't? And why is it that I still feel like that shitty little 12 to 16, 17, 18-year-old that just wanted to stab and kill everybody. Like, that's what I was, the biggest thing I was questioning.
As an adult, you can, like, decompartmentalize that, though.
Yeah.
And, like, separate that. But, like, it's like, I don't know, like, as adults, we wear the scars from childhood. Usually it's, like, things that we experienced as children that, like, stick with us forever and affect us forever.
Standard.
You know?
Yeah.
Do you believe... Oh, yeah, moving on a little slight tangent here. Do you believe there's any misconceptions around your music?
I don't feel that I'm big enough to have misconceptions yet. God forbid,
Fair
obviously nobody wants any misconceptions, God forbid, but yeah, just that, God forbid. I'm not going to wish myself wrong, God forbid any misconceptions.
You want the music to speak for itself, right?
I want people to speak for themselves always, but to mind their business. That's all it is. Because for me, right now, I'm speaking for myself. I might dive into other characters, but I would never dive into other characters to tarnish or to want to disrespect their business. And that's what I was even going to say. Shout out to the Catholics and that. You get me? Like, I ain't got time for it. I ain't got time for it. And even that's what I like about the Vatican and the fact that they have their own city, their own army, their own everything. Like,
kind of weird.
I think it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I've seen the Sistine Chapel. It's gorgeous, really, really gorgeous, beautiful place, unbelievable. But like they've got their own like laws and stuff. Like but it's kind of seedy. Like when you look into it, it's like there's a lot of like booky stuff that goes on in that city that like. Because they're all priests and stuff.
That's why it always
gets buried under the carpet.
Because it's like any business.
Yeah.
People come into there, they make their deals, and business goes. Yeah. And that's why I always say, like, if my whole thing is, I'll never judge anybody else's business, because in every business, it's an idea. It's an ideal. It's the same as the Knights Templar, always. That you get the blessed preachers and you get the tyrants that want to take advantage of people, and you also then get
in any sphere, even in the house of God.
Literally, that's why you get God, you get heaven and the angels, and you get and
heaven and hell are on earth, though, right? Like they exist within us all the time.
I've not died and you know what I mean. Gotten to witness all of that to talk about it with chest. But that's where I know if that makes sense, because patterns happen, and I look at it simply. If my house is in the same ripple effect, because that's what I mean, ripple effect. Every household, realistically speaking, has a mother, a father, and the child or children. Whether these people are present or not, they exist somewhere, otherwise that child wouldn't exist. And that's where I always look at it, just that simply. So just because your father isn't present or your mother isn't present, it doesn't mean they don't exist. So how can I disrespect God when I literally had my father existing in England? I had known since I was 3. My mother existed in England when I was 6, and eventually when because even spiritually, what people don't know is I was teaching my friends how to speak English in Zimbabwe.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like we was trading. We was trading information. They taught me how to tie my shoes. I taught them how to speak English, because I used to watch TV all the time. They didn't have access to TV like that. So they picked up what they could pick up. And that's where I just look at it like that's the way life is. You can judge people all you want, but all people are doing is picking up whatever they can pick up to feel a little bit of pleasure, a little bit of power, a little bit of value. The most key important thing, because my value was my brain, their value was their physical knowledge, and together we made it work. And that's the same. I look at it as the angels and the demons. The angels, they work like mentally. The demons, they work physically. But it doesn't make either one any better or worse than the other, because in a war you need your demons, but in the times of peace you need your angels to build back up. Shout out to Jordan Peterson as well, because that man is a godsend. Big shout out.
Pardon? I think he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with everything he says, but I don't, like.
But that's called being human.
Yeah. You don't agree with like everything anybody says, right? But like, fair, for real. Like, I think a lot of his motivational stuff, like, is. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think a lot about his message is very, very positive.
Because where you've actually opened up my eyes is I very much see everything now as a business, because even like what I was saying about why I love the Vatican, because they handle their business, but even more importantly, they mind their own business. You never hear of the Pope's army going to fight in the Middle East. You never hear of the Pope's army going to fight anywhere, but it exists.
Yeah, it's more of a defense tactic, right?
And that's the beauty of what I was saying about God. It's that. Do you know how? For me, it's a great defense being able to say, "With God, I'm going to Chesterfield today." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas there's people
to quote
right
Leonardo DiCaprio though in Blood Diamond, God left this place a long time ago.
But even still, well, clearly not. But what's the word? But even still,
shout out to Ches.
But even still, there's people right now that are suffering with mental health because they can't bring themselves to exit their house. They can't bring themselves to even exit their own brain. And I've been there. That's why, you know what I'm saying, for me,
and
like,
the album Mandela Effect probably helped you to escape that, making that project and getting those thoughts out, right? And like, you know what I mean? Like,
very true.
Helped you become a more extrovert.
Very true.
Yourself, right?
Very true. Because I got to actually express what some of the things I've been suppressing. Because I've been studying meditation and I really value that. Especially, I believe as artists, we really need to meditate. Because, like how I'm doing right now, it's a video I did the other day even still. But yeah, check out my business with Dulzo on TikTok. But what's the word? The whole point is breathing. The more we talk, the more we give our life force. That's all this microphone thing is designed to do. Take in the life force and be able to use it for better and amplify it. So that's where I really look at it. Like, so the more that we breathe in life, the more we can give. Yeah. And that's where I really look at it. Like, people need to meditate. It's not a want, it's a need. People need to meditate. People need to give themselves that space to just breathe and take in life force. Yeah, because if you actually even because I've studied like briefly into like, I'm a big believer, anything that can be feared must be studied. And I had a big fear of like morgues and stuff because I watched Kill Bill, and obviously in Kill Bill she gets buried alive. So I looked at it like, no, I don't want to fear this shit. And that's what I even loved about Kill Bill, because how am I scared of that? Pow! 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 Because that's science. It's friction.
Do you ever see the music video for
Please let me land on this. Because the big point that I'm trying to make is like breathing. Why do you think that the body start rotting in the coffin? Oxygen. The body needs oxygen. The body needs oxygen running through it to be able to sustain and survive and build and not just be stagnant. Because when things get stagnant, then worms sprout out. It's science. And that's why I was like, oh, so that's why meditating. And even if you look at the places with high meditation and high tree life, how young do Oriental people look?
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want to say. I wouldn't want to give a generalization, but I don't know. Maybe
Okay. I'm a go a bit. What's the word? Hoobity with it, right? Let's talk about. Okay. Let's go aliens on it, right? Let's talk about the Greys. Yeah. People believe in the Greys and that. The Greys, if they actually existed, they would have they would have been able to access our ether. So for them to access our ether coming outside of it, they understand air. They understand ether, they understand air. And if you look at Greys...
I mean, there's like theories of like, say aliens do exist. They probably... Say, like, human beings, our civilization's only about 10 million years old, according to history and everything. Imagine if there's, like, something out there that's, like, billions of years old. They'd be so much more advanced than us. And they would understand ether. And the point I'm trying to make is just that simply. If you look at Greys, you never typically see them very wrinkled. Do you mean aliens?
Yes. You never typically see them they look youthful.
The depictions of them.
Yes, they look youthful. And that's where I'm still making my point about.
No depictions of them talking ever either, like speaking.
Heck.
Do you know what I mean? They probably have some kind of telepathic communication.
Heck, even just myself, bro. Even just all the time again. You look so young. Do you know how much I used to run as a little kid? So just think about.
I don't personally, but like tell them by all means.
But just think about like all the, because even when I came to this country, obviously I had no friends and I couldn't communicate. So I would just spend my time, my breaks and my lunches, just doing laps in the playground because that's all I knew to run. Because I used to run with water.
So expel that like energy somehow. Yeah, for real.
Let me. That's all I knew. No, that's all I used to do. Know to do for fun.
Yeah.
Where other kids had their little video games, their little board games, whatever else, their little toys. I didn't have that. My parents were over here. And every time I asked for a toy, I'd just end up crying, so I stopped asking.
Oh.
So I just looked at it like, yo.
Sympathy for like little Dulzo there. Like,
It's what it is. It is what it is. But the positive side is, eventually when I got friends because I saw that these boys were selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Obviously, I wanted money. I want money for toys and sweets. So I was like, yo, teach me how to sell Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They did.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kyle Peacock, my first ever best friend. They did. And James Johnson as well, because these men are still 30 to this day.
That's such a definitive thing of our era as like growing up as kids, wasn't it? Yu-Gi-Oh! That was like, that was the thing, bro.
But my guy, we were hustling 20p a card, and if they're platinum, it's a pound, my nigga.
That's like, yeah, that's where the hustle comes from. Like, you start off on Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you graduate, like.
Fam.
All right, okay, back to music. Okay, the tape that follows the Mandela Effect, I think it was called "The Death of YouTube Beats." Got a very different vibe from that.
Okay, first, before that came Press X to start, and then I released the new one now.
Let's talk about the new one. Let's talk about the new
Player
one.
One, the end of YouTube Beats.
Yeah. Right, let's talk about that one for a second. So, like, I've got like Mandela Effect, very introspective. Next project, very upbeat, very energetic. Got the impression you wanted your fans to have fun with that shit. And yeah, like vocally, I feel like it was different because, like, with the Mandela Effect, I think we were talking about this on the way up here.
Yeah.
Sounded very raw, which I personally very much appreciated, especially with like the polished instrumentation. But vocally, on the next one, I could see like you were in the studio, production value. You know, as I can see, it's increased. You've improved your craft again, like it's a level up again, right? Showcasing your lyricism in the light it deserves to be showcased, right? Yeah, well, I think we touched on this a little bit before, earlier in the video, but earlier in the interview. But is it satisfying to see that growth and evolution, not only in like the production value, but in the overall quality of the product of your music? And is it nice? Is it a nice feeling knowing that your fans are seeing your evolution alongside, you know, you and themselves, really, and as you and your fan base grow together, right?
Satisfying, no. Growth, yes. Satisfying, I'd have to say no, just in the terms of I know what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
And I know what I want. And I know it's going to take a lot of climbing to be able to accomplish it. So
this latest project was probably your most like ambitious one to date, right? You would say?
No.
Oh.
Definitely not.
Oh. What would you say is your most ambitious project?
My most ambitious?
Yeah.
Unlikely Rise of a King, but that was a long time ago.
Oh, it's interesting. I like that you're citing your old shit.
It's a no, just purely because of I know how many hands was involved in making the project. So it wasn't that ambitious. Like, literally, I had somebody at my university, like, I was going uni in London, and they told me, yo, I guess if I look at the formation and the process of the project, it was ambitious because I was going uni in London. I was doing all that traveling. I was traveling different cities, selling wristbands. A whole lot of things like accumulated to me, obviously making the project. Yeah. But in the terms of the production of it, I did not feel very ambitious. I felt just like I was doing a job.
But I suppose that when you get into the routine of doing it, that's quite a positive thing though, because you're comfortable. Do you know what I mean? And you're making something that to the outsiders like me seems ambitious, but to you it's like,
it's just training.
you're in that routine at that point. That's
that's
great.
right. Because for me, I love training. It's more the fact I love training. That's why I get very confused because I listen to motivational videos and they'll be like, nobody likes to wake up in the morning and hustle and have to go there. I'll be like, bro, I live for that shit.
Yeah,
that make sense?
For real.
So that didn't feel very ambitious, but I would say the process was very ambitious.
Ambitious in lots of What's the origin of the title? What does it mean? And for those who don't know, what's the concept or the story behind this tape?
I watched Ready Player One. I really, really loved the movie because I thought this is a good
film.
It's
It's
a
a good
good.
fucking film.
It's a good way to view life.
Yeah.
As much as we might not be into the meta world yet, it's a great way to view life, and that's where I just looked at it like, wait a minute. So life is really that: birth, discovery, death. So it's like a video game, because during the discovery phase, you gain your coins, you build your castle, then eventually death. So I was like, yeah, life is like a video game. So that's why I made press X to start first, like on PS4. You press, you get the, then.
No, I like that a lot. Yeah, for real.
Boop.
And it's like, comparing it to like playing a game, right?
Completely.
Okay, let's start wrapping this up, bro. You're still so young. Do you have any plans to sign in the future, like to a label, or is like being independent? I don't know. Is that the thing for you, or are you gonna like
no limit.
Switch it up?
No limit. Whatever works. If the deal's good, let's go. Standard.
Yeah, cool. I like that. Keeping your options open. That's cool.
Yeah, because for me, the whole big thing is I need to actually get this energy out there. I can feel it. Because for me, the only deals I'm willing to sign is either partnership, distribution. That's it. Because publishing always has to be yours. Publishing always has to be yours. Because a partnership deal with a major label, then you're basically Drake. A distribution deal with a major label, then even still you're in a very good position.
Yeah. It's just like, it's that right balance of like, if the deal's good and like creative freedom. And I respect that, bro.
Yeah.
You gotta like keep your options open to that shit. A slightly more funny thing, on some of your songs, you refer to your homies as slimes, which is a phrase coined from Young Thug. Like how big of an influence has Thug been on you musically, I guess? And have you been following the YSL case?
Circle of bosses, pussy, you better not cross us.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, I knew it. As soon as I heard that slimes, I was like, I know what he's fucking talking about.
Fucking Thugger. Obviously I stopped listening. Obviously it's songs
Taste
like
Evolve, right?
did a lot of shit just to live this here lifestyle. It's just shit like that, bro. Like, we grew up fucking raving to him, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So, bro, like, he's of course been a big influence. We grew up raving to lifestyle, bro. That was one of them songs that if the man them hear the song, it doesn't matter which corner of the club we're in, what girl we're with, you're finding us in the fucking middle going crazy.
Yeah, man.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, Thug.
His influence is unparalleled. That's what's mad about this situation. I don't think people thought that an artist as big as him could fall, but it could happen.
He hasn't fallen. Because what you got,
not yet, but
because what you've got to realize, because what you got to realize, this is what I'm always saying about why I respect Spartans. I respect African warriors, Spartans, Romans, and gang members, because the origin of a gang was the same as these. People that protect
coming together,
their community,
protect each other, and
protect the community.
coexist,
Not even about each other. It's about the community, ensuring that good people in the community can survive and move. Because the same as the Knights Templar, there were people. The Knights Templar were started because people going to the Holy Land needed protection from robbers and chaos, basically.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing in my eyes that Thugger did. Because look how many people he's put on. Look at how Gunna's family can eat. How his family can eat, and all these man, they just have to take a bit. They just have to do a bit of time, but their family's good. That's called being a man.
To an extent, but I think there'd be people who argue like, I don't know.
Don't
like
get me wrong.
At that point, does he need to
Don't
be
get me
dabbling in
wrong.
that lifestyle? Like,
Don't
he's
get
a
me
millionaire,
wrong.
bro.
Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, you've got to realize that being a millionaire comes with a millionaire's worth of problems and issues, and you need a millionaire's worth of defense, and he has that.
Yeah, so you empathise with the situation, right?
Whoa, duh!
Yeah, I should have got that.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not out here doing fucking racketeering and murdering people and calling my niggas to murder people, but I've been there. You know, as much as I might not have, you know what I'm saying? I thank God that it never got too deep, that I had to be fucking niggas up, but at the end of the day,
again, like
niggas were willing. I look at it simply.
Like, there's gonna be so much eyes on that guy.
I look at it simply. Niggas were willing to fuck niggas up for me so that I could climb. Full stop. That's the same thing that these men had to do. And that's where it can get a bit racial, but at the end of the day, The system and God's plan is at work. I don't.
Yeah.
That's full stop. You can make about black, white all day, but as naturally America
A lot of things
does
like
it.
devolve beyond that.
But the reality is, God's plan is at work. Soldiers are taking the worth. Soldiers are making the necessary sacrifices for the ascension of humanity and this planet and the animals.
Preach, bro.
I see all the way around.
I think that's
whether
as good of a
it's
concluding message
no,
as any,
I
man.
actually have to conclude on this. Whether it's Justin Bieber, Marilyn Manson, Billie Eilish, Kanye West, Beyonce, Drake. It don't matter
Any
who
of
it
them, man.
is. Drake's got his owl, wisdom. Everybody out here working for the great ascension of humanity, the earth, and peace for all man. Amen.
My God. Yeah, that was fucking sick. I love it. All right, final 4 questions. Final 3 questions. What projects do people have to look forward to from you in 2023? What would you say the next steps for you are in your career, long term? Where are you hoping to take this? And where can people find your music, my good man?
My next project is called Tutorial. What was the next question after that?
What's the next steps for you in your career?
My next steps in my career is to finish uni, get a PhD in this music thing, and keep flying.
Professional thing, right?
You get me, Dr. Dulzo, musicologist. That'd be
man.
very beautiful. And
where can people find you? Instagram, YouTube, Spotify.
I'm on everything, all platforms, all socials. You can catch me at DULZO. On mainstream social medias like Instagram and Snapchat is Dulzo the Great. And yeah, music platforms is Dulzo, DULZO. And social media platforms, it's Dulzo the Great.
Bro, amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. One of the more fascinating conversations I can say that I've had on this channel in a minute. Longest one yet, to be honest. I bet this is like an hour and a half up in this bitch. Jeez, but, I mean,
up in this.
You came all the way from Leicester to do this, bro. So I had to give you the platform. Bro.
Up in this bitch. I love that.
Yeah, man, for real.
Gang, man, express yourselves.
Okay. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we love you here at the Bunker. If you haven't already, drop a like, drop a subscribe. His live session's coming up shortly, so go and check that out, boys and girls. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one, as we do. Peace out.